Comic Book Nation, Season 4. We continue, and we had an awesome plan for this episode, but as we coming in, we have some breaking news that has just dropped. So let's get to that, because there's nothing fun more fun on these podcasts than some live reactions. So let's talk breaking news. As we were coming in, we got an update that reveals a new key piece of information that people have been wondering about the Avatar sequel, Avatar: The Way of Water, which is how the hell is Sigourney Weaver in this movie? Because if you don't remember 2009, which was yesterday, but Sigourney Weaver's character, Dr. Grace, died in Avatar, right? I mean, they put her into the earth. There was this whole thing. So how is she back in this movie? And crazy enough, we just got the answer thanks to Empire Magazine, which is that she is going to be playing the role of Kiri, who is Jake Sully and Natiri's adoptive teenage daughter. So the article's basically breaking down this crazy casting of having Sigourney Weaver play in her, a woman, in her elder years, playing a woman in her elder years who gets back into the body of a teenage girl. So like some 13 going on 30 stuff, except with the Na'vi. So
I love the sentence in the original article, by the way, which is like, we'll allow you a sentence to take all that in again.
Yeah, right.
It's like that bonkers.
It takes a minute, right? James Cameron. Yeah. So they even talked to Sigourney Weaver about it. She says, I think we all pretty much remember what we were feeling as adolescents. I certainly do. I was 5'10" or 5'11" when I was 11. I felt strongly that Kiri would feel awkward given a lot of the time. She's searching for who she is. Oh, look at Peter just jumping on with the Avatar trailer. That was unplanned. See, that's real producing power. Thank you, Peter. Peter's in the background running the show today.
Nice job.
Yeah. Richard and our regular people are all out in the field. So we're at home and Peter's holding down. Peter also makes our excellent graphics. Why our graphics game has stepped up in season 4
for sure
is because Peter's here, and we got Peter on the team because they were just tired of letting all our crazy podcasts run without somebody to rein these things in. So Peter's been holding it down, and he's got this. So yes, that is Sigourney Weaver you see swimming in the water. That teenage Na'vi girl is Sigourney Weaver. So yeah, there you go. Breaking news. What do you guys reacts in the moment? Janelle, what do you think?
I genuinely...
Great. I love it. Yes. Matt, what do you like about this or not? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you.
I was like, wait, maybe I'm muted. I don't know. I genuinely did not even make the connection. Like, I was like, oh, wait, no, she didn't die. That's how long it's been that I cannot remember for the life of me what actually happened in Avatar. So for me personally, like, this is going to have to be a binge situation to get back into this because I'm not in the headspace of Avatar at all. Like, it's just been way too long for me. So.
Okay, good. I think I had it right now. I'm just kidding. I had it right the first time. I was going to say, cut me off now. But that's, that's you. But to be fair, I feel like you do represent a huge sample size of the audience right now. I just hit us with some breaking Avatar news, and still you're just like, oh, yes, that's a thing with people in it. And I feel like, that's still kind of the general.
I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, but I just really cannot remember
the
story.
I think we all have to watch Avatar again, if I'm being perfectly honest. Except maybe Matt. Matt, you look like you'd be like a real kind of Pandorite, like, when you're off time.
Oh, is that what they're called? Pandorite?
I don't know. I just made that up.
I was trying to find out everyone's fandom names. I will say, actually, I'm getting more excited for this sequel. One, because that was a gorgeous trailer they put out. That's a stunning trailer.
You seen it on the big screen or IMAX? It is.
Yeah, because I had the chance to see it in 3D, right? So we were at the 3D showing, and we saw that trailer, and it was like, good Lord, that's gorgeous. And Anissa is like over them, like she's hyped to the moon on it. She's like, I want to see that. So I've been kind of re-immersing myself in some Avatar stuff. I was like, yeah, get on board, this is really interesting. I love the spin. Like, if you're gonna, I love bringing her back in, and then also having her play just a completely different type of character. And I was waiting for the helmets. A comment. That's what I was waiting. I was waiting for it. But yeah, like I'm actually, this is cool. I think this actually makes it way more interesting to me.
Yeah,
So
if you're just
I'm up
listening,
for this.
Peter's also a shark in the comments of our live streams, which if you're just listening to the podcast, thank you. But you should tune into the live shows too, because it's a whole other experience when you watch us live. It's a whole other level of chaos. But yeah, so okay, that's Avatar 2 news. That was not part of our show. So yeah, let's get to what we are promised you guys to be here for. We are burdened by some knowledge. I'm going to say right off the bat, I have not completed Stranger Things 4. I did not have 4 hours at my disposal. You know, I set aside 4 hours at my disposal, but life and family always has a way of, you know, fulfilling Jeff Goldblum's whole chaos theory. So I have not finished. I saw the penultimate episode and finished that. I got the hour and a half in. I still got to do this 2.5 hour journey. And honestly, after seeing some early reactions that I've muted, I don't know if I'm ready to do that to myself emotionally. This week has already done enough to me emotionally that I'm trying to like build up to what I know is going to be a thrilling, fun, but ultimately heartbreaking thing. But I say that all to say, chill in the comments. I'm not reading any comments right now because I don't trust you all. I have trust issues. I trust no one or nothing. So I am not reading comments. But I'll let Janelle and them filter out comments if I need to know. Okay? Or Peter will throw some up on the screen. But yeah,
Mod
so
power.
everybody chill. We're going spoiler free because nobody's really going to be getting through this yet. Unless you just took a Stranger Things 4th of July holiday early. Like, we're going to take a minute.
That sounds awesome.
Next week, we're going to come back and talk about Stranger Things as a whole and do like maybe like a whole kind of dissection. Deep dive. Yeah,
we should.
Because
I'm at the same spot.
Yeah.
I'm at the same spot as
we're all kind of in the same spot.
Okay, well, we're going to get to that. Let's save this. We're coming to that. Okay. But first, let me just get this out of the way. I am also burdened by the knowledge. I've seen Thor, Love and Thunder, which was its own mission this week, but we got it done, and I saw Thor, Love and Thunder, so I'm just going to give you a spoiler-free react. I kind of fall in line with the general film Twitter consensus, and I hate that because I hate film Twitter, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. Sham, crazy crap that is. But anyway, hey, man, I've said it since the beginning, and I'm on record. Go back 10 years, I was saying it when it started, I say it now. But anyway, as film Twitter said, like, you know, it is a fun movie, and I think fun with a capital F, a capital U, and a capital N, and maybe an extra N in there just for flair. But yeah, it is. This is a Taika Waititi Thor movie. So if you didn't like Ragnarok, this is more of the same. But this one is just kind of Taika now fully trusted and let loose to kind of make his own film. And it is kind of this weird, almost like the postmodern version or satirical version of what Marvel superhero movies have been, while still kind of being that, but never once taking itself too seriously. Except for Christian Bale, who's in a completely different movie. He's in a very serious movie. And it's not out of place. It works. If you've read any interviews, you've heard about things. A lot of stuff was cut from this movie. It was slimmed down. And I could see where they trimmed a lot of Bale's part. But he's amazing in the parts that he is in. And he is a freaky Marvel villain. And the way they make gore in this movie is pretty freaky and kind of scary. There's also a good amount of heart in this. I mean, it lives up to its title. The thunder is action and kind of craziness, but there's also a lot of love and heart in this. The Jane Thor stuff is great. The Jane stuff is great. Natalie Portman's great to have back in the franchise, and, you know, all of that stuff kind of really works. So it's like Jojo Rabbit, if you want a comparison. Like, there is serious stuff, heartfelt stuff, and kind of this kind of absurdist comedy laid over genre. Kind of mocking, like winking at you at the whole time. People like Russell Crowe are amazing. And yeah, there's some post-credit scene stuff you definitely want to stay for. But this is fun. And I still think that every Phase 4 movie, I think there's this weird thing going on. And after I came out of Thor, and I'm trying to figure out how to write about this without, you know, getting flamed down by Marvel fans everywhere. But like, I feel like there's this weird synthesis in Phase 4 where the whole Marvel collective team has just kind of gelled together their content. And so like the TV content and the movie content is all kind of the same baloney sheet. And it kind of feels that way because this feels like, I feel like every Phase 4 film feels like it's made to also stream on Disney Plus. You know what I mean? And like that level of scope as compared to just before in the theatrical times. And Thor 4 still feels like that in a certain respect. Like it still feels like a very awesome TV episode of Thor. But that said, like, yeah, it's fun. with a capital F, capital U, and a capital N, and maybe another N thrown in there for thing. I don't think I've laughed in any of the Marvel movies as much as I did in this. And yeah, there's just some gags that are great, and everybody who appears in this is just, great. So it is kind of the most fun and I think the least controversial Phase 4 film we've had. It's a safe bet if you're just looking to do and you want some just good Marvel theatrical fun. So, and Chris Hemsworth butt. So there you go.
Got to throw that in there.
Got to throw that in there. So that's Thor: Love and Thunder.
So I have a question.
Any questions? Yes.
Yes, I have a question. So I keep hearing this is a more mature Taika Thor story. Is that accurate? Because it was kind of like you were kind of like, well, if you liked Ragnarok, you'll like this. So did you see kind of a evolution of that, or is it really just Ragnarok?
Yes, Taika's much more comfortable in this world now. He knows like what he can play with and like what to kind of leave alone. And this story does take, in some hilarious even sequences and ways, in the way that you saw framed in the trailer, like you hear Korg telling the voiceover story, like it is a legend. So it is a cumulative kind of thing of taking all that Thor's been doing and been through and looking at where is this character now and addressing kind of like, we didn't get to do it in Endgame because we were so busy, Fat Thor just became a joke, but like that was a serious thing about that character and like, why is he depressed and where has he been? And this story is him kind of learning to get back out there and deal with things again. Right. And so like, that's what it's about. And yeah. And so it's kind of, there are serious moments and there are serious conversations and scenes, and those are still treated not too like dramatically and heavy, but like when Taika's doing all this zany stuff, it doesn't take much for him to just pull back and do a straight kind of scene where people are just actually stop fooling around for a moment and have like a serious conversation.
Okay,
and
cool.
That kind of happens. Yeah.
Because that was one of my issues. Like I really enjoy Ragnarok, but I'm not like as in love with it as some others are, because it really took that, hey, we got to have a quip or we got to have a thing here to the 90th degree, right? So that excites me more about it, I will say.
Oh yeah,
that he's okay to rein it in a little bit.
No.
Do you have anything?
I'm just really, really, really excited because I love Ragnarok, like probably in some of my top picks in the entire MCU. So if it does kind of align with that, I just couldn't be more excited.
Oh yeah, it's hard not to smile and laugh throughout most of this movie. So
I feel like we need that because there's been a lot of heavy moments lately. Like even in the shows, there are, I don't know, I'm not laughing in the shows personally. I know that like some of the stuff is supposed to be funny, but I don't know. They're fun, but they're not funny. So, yeah.
And Chris Hemsworth is uniquely like nailed this thing where he's still like a great leading man, but like also not this like the kind of weird satirical takedown of like the machismo guy. Like he's always kind of really good at self-deprecating and like acting and making fun of himself and the way he plays Thor, and it's great. So yeah, Thor franchise is not doing bad, guys. Like, and sets up some good things for Thor franchise's future on its own. So check out Thor: Love and Thunder. I can easily recommend that. Go see that in theaters. It's just, I think it's a good one to see with a crowd too. Like this is one you don't want to sit at home on Disney Plus and be like laughing and having these moments by yourself. Like you want to get out with a crowd and you want to just feel good for 2 hours with some other Marvel fans. And this will do that. All right. Now let's get on to some other stuff. So let's talk about our spoiler-free reactions to Stranger Things. I think we figured out earlier that we're all kind of in the same place. We watched the first of the last 2 episodes. And yeah, what are you guys thinking so far? Because we know, the internet's already blowing up. We already know that we're going to get our hearts broken in this last episode. How are you guys feeling so far about what we got in the penultimate episode, which was called Papa?
Janelle, you want it up?
I left off at a very strange moment. I think I have about 6 minutes left on this episode. So it's a lot of heaviness is happening right at the end, even though I haven't experienced the full end. So I am just kind of like on the edge of my seat going, oh my God, like how is this episode going to wrap? But it's just so rewarding so far. I'm I was kind of disappointed when I realized there were only 2. I went to my fiance and I was like, wait a minute. I thought they were releasing 4. Like I want more. Like I'm obsessed with this show again. Thank God, because I was kind of nervous that I wouldn't be. We talked about that on the podcast. And this is just beautiful. Like they're doing such an incredible job. I've heard lots of rumors about deaths and where it's going, and I haven't experienced a lot of that yet, so I'm holding my breath and petrified, just like Kofi said. Like you have to be mentally in like a good space. So I would say this episode is a really nice journey, and it explains a lot, which is very rewarding, and I'm just waiting for the next one to really like rip my heart out.
Yeah, I will say.
I love that you use the words "only 2." This is 2 episodes.
I know,
right? 90 minutes and
I
2.5 hours. One is a Scorsese film.
I was gonna
you're
say.
Correct.
So
You're right. I'll take
like
that. You win.
A 3 to 4 episode volume, and it's just put in the 2. But this is one of those things. I love the kind of fun of that. Like if you're gonna do, I mean, this is a finale in all sense of the word, right? So I love that they're kind of going all out like that. That's awesome. I will say this episode leaves us in a very interesting place, and I have loved the season. The season has been fantastic. It has been like the right amount of horror, the right amount of I've been genuinely freaked out at several parts along this season, and so this first one, I cannot wait. Like it's not for me, it was the fact that I'm like Kofi, like I wanted to watch the next one. I wanted to have it all done. And then just stuff gets in the way, right? Life gets in the way. But it was not because I wouldn't have just sat there for another 2.5 hours and watched the whole thing. I was in, and I was pissed that I couldn't. Also, I just got a shout out that I think it was Comic Book. I think it was Comic Book that said the month of Paul Reiser. Dude, in all the shows suddenly, and that's so
today
true.
is a double Paul Reiser day. That is crazy true. Paul Reiser's on Stranger Things and The Boys. Paul Reiser was just he's just out here getting the bag. He was just like, I need to get this last minute. He's like, what's hot right now? He's like, all right, I want that
in both shows. It's great.
I also love what CJ said. They should have put the finale in the theaters for the weekend. I would have absolutely gone and seen that. Would you guys have seen it in the theater?
Oh yeah, they could have done that. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been so fun.
Oh, they could have done that.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Netflix. Netflix has been. I mean, more we hear, we know that Netflix has a kind of certain allergy to money. So they got to be careful with that. I don't want them getting sick.
Kofi, what did you think of this episode?
I thought it was really good. Like you said, I've been watching, I rewatched the whole series leading up to Volume 2's release, including Volume 1 all over again, just because there were things I just wanted to make sure I hammered down before we got to the end of this. Yeah.
Props on that.
Oh, it was easy to do once I started. Season 1 is still by far the most perfect season of
I want to rewatch really bad.
I've ever seen. It's so good.
Yeah.
So funny how much these kids have aged too. But yeah, it's pretty nuts how much when they do these extended episodes, like the Battle of Hawkins or the mall one at the end of 3, how they can make 90 minutes go by so fast and feel like no time has gone. I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch this. And like you said, I was mad at my family when I got up. I was like, you guys again? Stupid life. And then I had to come back and finish it. I'm half watching it when I'm trying to make breakfast. But they make 90 minutes feel like it goes, and the scope of what they are doing now and just that last 6 to 10 minutes, which I hope you get to finish. It's just, it's nuts what they do, and just the set pieces they pull off. And I can tell now why this took some extra time. And just now we got a 2.5 hour movie's worth, where I'm assuming we're going to get some major battles and set pieces and crazy stuff happening. So,
can we just give a shout out to Journey? Okay. Because these youngins don't understand who Journey is, my favorite band of all time. And Steve Carey has the best voice.
What are you, a 65-year-old Florida man?
I just love Journey. His voice is so good. And if you don't know who Journey is at the end of this episode,
no doubt about what you're saying.
Journey is amazing.
Journey is I almost sang Journey on American Idol. I was the only person to get approved to sing Journey on American Idol, and then I got cut from the show before I could do it. Oh, it's such a bummer. They actually had audition me in front of the band to
No,
make
I
sure I
get
could
it.
sing their
I've just
song.
never heard. It's rare of our generation to
I
hear somebody
know.
say like Journey is my favorite band of all
Journey,
time.
Fleetwood Mac, and then like throw in some Incubus and Spice Girls, and we're good.
Are you part of like some
Love it.
Florida Beach
You know
cult?
what though?
Like, are
You
you
know
part
what's
of a Jimmy
crazy?
Buffett cult? You
Here's
are,
the
aren't
thing.
you?
That collection right there is not exactly what like I would leap to like for Janelle's favorite bands, but it totally makes sense now that I know the bands. Like, you know what I mean? Like doing the show with Janelle is like, yeah, that fits. I don't know. It's the eclectic collection that fits.
Everybody go listen to
Like that's
go
my
listen to
playlist when I go to
Journey.
Cape Cod for a week. But like, yeah, that's what I know. It's like Florida. It's Jimmy Buffett cult stuff. I've seen it.
I love it. Anyways, there's
Never-
just shout outs. The music is so good on Stranger Things.
Anyway, that ending Journey track is fire. I mean,
Yeah. The soundtrack overall though for the show has been fantastic.
I don't want to get sued, so I can't. Yeah, I'm not gonna get sued.
If he oh say all right, anyways, go ahead.
But yeah, so we are emotionally intact right now as you were hearing this and watching this. We're good. But after this, I know we're all gonna be kind of emotionally hit up after this one. Because I mean that last sequence gives you one last look at these people, and we know somebody's got to die, as the Notorious B.I.G. once said. And I'm not ready for that because I just rewatched the series, and I'm just that's not the way I want to go today. But so we're gonna get into it, and next week together, guys, we'll do a Stranger Things deep dive, and we'll talk about everything, and we'll heal together. Okay?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So, yeah, we got some good things coming up, and we got some other breaking news. It sounds like we got in the wings that's coming up for the wrestling section that's coming later. Well, that's going to be a surprise. But real quick, let's get to this other crazy thing that happened this week with Howard Stern saying some stuff about Dr. Doom. They did this over on the Marvel podcast Phase Zero. That was in real time. They had to deal with that in real time. Thank God we had to let some time on this breathe. Did we ever figure out? So Howard Stern was doing an interview. He mentioned that he's going to do Dr. Doom for Marvel, and he was doing this thing. And he's talking to Robert Downey Jr. about acting techniques and stuff, and like the internet melted down. Have we gotten any updates since then? Because this was just too ludicrous for me to like. I mean, it could be real, but even if it was real life, it's too ludicrous often these days for me to handle. So I can only take so much. Like, do we think this is live action? Do we think it's in like a animated thing? Like, what are we thinking here?
I mean, he could even just be like a reporter. He could be playing himself,
right?
You know, talking about Dr. Doom on his show or something. We don't know. I mean, he's just. I love how dramatic he is. He's like, oh, this is gonna suck. Meanwhile, we all would like die to be in something Marvel related. It's so cute. Like, must be so nice to just casually call up Downey and be like, hey man, I need some help with acting.
So yeah, like I do kind of love that, you know, like, oh yeah, he's just in my phone. I just texted.
Yeah.
I do. Now, to be fair, there was a time in the past where Stern kind of like it was kind of the same type of situation where it was like, oh hey, here's like the mic is live, and like we accidentally said some stuff, and then it was just kind of a publicity thing. So that was a while back. It was a long time ago, right? But maybe could this be another version of that? I don't know, because like do you I don't know. It's one of those things, right? Like even if I had something significantly, even just with the hint of it might be secret or I should not say it, would I say it around a bunch of microphones and a thing, even if we're on, like, even if we've done this all day? Like, I don't know. I still wouldn't. But, you know, Stern is Stern. So maybe like he just, you know, doesn't care. But he's also a pro at this. He's been doing this a long time. So I don't know. The hot mic thing was kind of like, I don't know.
Suspect.
You know, maybe he's just messing with
That's
us.
what you're trying to say.
It's a little suspect. However, I did see that there was like a question of whether if this is true and legit happens, like, relax. I don't think he's playing Dr. Doom.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, he's just gonna be in it.
Yeah.
And you know, even if he plays an actual character, not just Stern in the universe, I'm up for that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I mean, Marvel loves to integrate like real life stuff, and I could see Howard Stern talking about something in Latveria and like, so you ever heard about those Latvian sex clips or something like crazy like that? You know what I mean? Like, easily be a part of something like that. But I think my larger question is, are they doing a Doctor Doom focused project? Like, is that going to be a thing? And
they should.
Are we going to get that
before
or a Fantastic Four thing? Like, what?
That would make
everything
sense.
about this again. This is why I just tap out sometimes. I'm like Danny Glover. I'm just like, I'm too old for this issue. Like I can't handle it. Like
it's just hard to get your hopes up for things. Like we've done that so many times publicly now that it is like kind of embarrassing at this point. Like how much do we want to, invest our time and energy into predictions because we're always wrong. Like,
I'm only down for this if it's a Doom 2099 project starring Howard Stern. Doom 2099.
Okay, that give me that with him in the role. I'm good.
I want everything 2099. Well, we're probably going to find out something because in a turn of events, like Comic-Con called in all the bodies and favors it had, and Marvel's coming back to Comic-Con this year.
Yeah,
they're going to Hall H to do a presentation. So hopefully we'll learn something in the coming weeks.
Cool. Yes.
Matt, did you say something?
No, I said maybe.
Okay, maybe, baby. All right, so do we have time? Did you want to mention?
Let's cut it. Let's just move. Right. Let's move forward. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
All right, so we are going to take an ad break, but when we come back, we have to do recaps of Miss Marvel, The Boys. We got to talk wrestling, and we got to talk some good comics this week. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. We'll be right back on Comic Book Nation. Season 4, we just wrapped up our spoiler-free first reactions to Thor: Love and Thunder and Stranger Things 4 Volume 2, plus broke down that Doctor Doom, Howard Stern, crazy Marvel news that broke this week. Now we are moving on to some recaps of the week. Our TV recaps will be Miss Marvel episode... Oh, somebody mislabeled. It says episode 3.
Sorry, that was my fault.
4.
That was my fault.
Miss Marvel episode 4 and The Boys post-Herogasm episode, as I call it, that had some things going on. So, Matt, why don't you kick us off? What'd you think about Miss Marvel this week? Because you are our Miss Marvel expert, so I was interested what you thought about. Marvel series has you always got to have a road trip episode, and this week we went to Pakistan, and tell us what you thought.
Oh my God, I love this episode. I love this episode so much. I saw some wild Miss Marvel takes, y'all, on Twitter. Kofi talks about film Twitter. I'll talk about like TV Twitter. I saw some just whack takes on the show in general, but also on this episode. And man, I came away just loving this, man. So far Marvel has a really good track record with traveling episodes. And I will say that this a core part of this episode is Kamala's relationship with her nanny, but also her relationship with her own mother, and then their relationship, and it's seeing some of the parallels and seeing how her mom relates. The stuff with her nanny just like hit me in a place. Like, my nana was one of the most precious human beings on the earth, and there's so many things I saw of her in in their depiction, and it just, I don't know, it just hit home with me in a very different way. It just hit right here. So for me, this episode, I love this episode. I love the action, and as we talked about before with some of the powers and stuff, they're starting to get a feel for it. You know, they're starting to get a feel for some things. You want to see some things evolve by the time the show ends, but I really like the action stuff in here. I love the sequence, the chase sequence and stuff. And so, I mean, I thought this episode was great. I really enjoyed this episode a lot. But that's me. What'd you guys say?
I loved it. This show, I was so nervous about the coming of age teenager story. You guys know this. I kind of like, ugh, kind of like bothers me. I just adore her. She's just so likable and relatable, and I'm just so in love with like them showcasing a different culture, a different country, and like her ability to be so relatable, and also the action in this. Like we're finally getting fighting sequences and like, you know, the power usage, and it's really cool to see because we're finally kind of getting more into like the superhero-y aspect of this. Has this been confirmed for season 2?
I don't think they've confirmed that.
No.
Because
other than like Loki getting one like right at the end of that, I don't think they confirm any season 2s for
it just
Disney Plus
feels like we're finally getting into like the meat and potatoes of like the superhero vibes of her. And so I would hope that we have more of that so we can see her really like hone her craft and her skills, because she kind of just went from not really knowing how to use them at all to like, oh wow, she's like putting platforms everywhere and she's jumping on them and she's protecting, she's shielding herself. And it just kind of like, I want to see more of it. So yeah, I loved it.
Kofi, what'd you think?
I liked it. I still feel the same about this show, which is like this, it's a kind of tale of two deliveries for me. I like this show for like actually the character study and the cultural study stuff. Like, and this episode particularly did a good job of doing what I think any of these episodes, whether it's Watchmen or Moon Knight or Shang-Chi or anything, which is making you learn a little bit more culturally. Like this had a lot of stuff. And, you know, I'll reference Fave Zero again. They had an internet person named Neebs on who offered a lot of cultural insight on this. You know, just watching some of the Twitter conversations by actual, you know, Asiatic brown people from that sector of the world was much more interesting, because seeing those Marvel fans come out and delight about all the things that packed in there, from like Bollywood references when she nearly falls on the guy to things in the backgrounds of the streets of Pakistan and cultural things they snuck into there, and, you know, and making this into this authentic representation of it. That was good. It was good to learn like a lot of the Easter eggs that I didn't understand or know about and kind of learn about and do all that stuff. And I kind of like that. They are making me like Kamala Khan. Now, as for what this show is titled, Ms. Marvel, I still think this show is, and I don't think it's the show so much as the decisions above the show, where I think they're still playing with Marvel lore that's really kind of weak for me, like not strong enough to draw me in. I don't feel like the clandestines are like a good villain threat for me. Like they were just kind of rushed in, and, you know, then now they're going like, let's blow up the world evil. And it's just like, they don't grip me. I'm not engaged with them as villains. Like I'm engaged entirely. Like there could be no villains chasing her, just Kamala on a mystery quest to figure out what these weird powers are. And I'd be just as engaged in this show as I am now. So the Marvel lore of it, I think, is some of the weakest for me, but the character stuff is some of the strongest to me. So it's kind of like this weird kind of blend. No,
that makes sense. Like, and okay, so like Damon Streams is bringing up some things in the comments of like, you know, whether this like brings up time travel and some other things, because like what it could break in the Marvel universe and stuff. And it's a weird thing. So like you said, like it's of the Miss Marvel side and then the Kamala Khan side. To me, I look at those as one person. Miss Marvel is Kamala to me. And so if I don't care about Kamala, I do not give one iota about
agreed.
Marvel,
completely agreed on that. Yeah.
So the stuff that's in there about like most of what I've loved about the show is actually not very power centric. That's kind of why I can kind of I made peace. We've had this discussion, right? I've made peace with the powers being different and stuff like that. I made peace with that already. Like that's not changing. It's whatever, right? So I've just grown to like accept that for what it is. But the Marvelness, I just don't care as much. So like I don't care how like this ties into like if this breaks the continuity thing here or whatever. Like I just don't care about that. So as long as you make me care about the people and the Kamala as a person and her family, since they are such an intrinsic part of the character, I'm good, right? So that I think that's probably why I'm enjoying the show so much, is because to me 90% of the show is that, and then you get like the 10% that is the other stuff, and that stuff's I enjoy some of that stuff. I don't enjoy all of it, but I enjoy some of that stuff, and like that's why I feel like maybe I'm enjoying this more than some.
Well, let me just clarify my own point based on what you said. Is I'm not saying like I'm splitting Miss Marvel and Kamala into two people. I think what I'm talking about is I'm echoing what you said. Like the Marvelness of it hasn't gripped me. So I think I was trying to do this without criticizing the episode. So like when it went into like full Marvel mode, like I blanked out for a lot of that foot chase scene, like because it went on. It was very Marvel-y, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really into this as much. Like, whereas just her walking around with her cousins, I was into that stuff. Like,
yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And I still think it's the fundamental thing that, and not to say those actors didn't do a great job with like parkour and the knife throwing and all that stuff was awesome. But I blanked out. It was giving me that Bay kind of gelled over thing because I'm not into the Marvel action aspects of this. And that's just all I'm saying. And I know, and like I said, I think you could still have made this series just a series about Kamala tracking down the origins of her bangle, figuring it out, accessing her powers fully, and then being ready to step up for the Marvels. And I would have been just as happy. So I'm just saying for right now, like, yeah, when they're trying to do the Marvel action and conflict, I'm not as in character stuff and where this character is going to go. And by the time she's fully formed with her powers and all that, like that future is already secure with me. Like Iman Vellani, like she's on that Florence Pugh, Haley Steinfeld level with me already. Like, I need scenes with her and people, and I'm looking forward to that much more than worrying about the powers or any of that other stuff.
And like, I don't know. I come away from like, it's no secret. I was already stoked for the Marvels as it is, but like seeing where that character is going and is going to be by the end of the series, and then like looking forward to the day where like her, Carol, Monica all get to interact is like, that's nuts.
Just the first time she walks in a room with Carol Danvers, it's going to be so cute.
So good.
You're going to maybe see something rare on my face you've never seen, which is like genuine cuteness and joy. Yeah. And yeah, it's going to be nuts, but so it's going to be great. And like, yeah, so Miss Marvel, I'm just hoping, like, I'm very interested to see what this time travel episode is going to be, because Miss Marvel going to time travel was not in my bingo card. So I'm really interested to see what they do and how they get into, I can't imagine the letters they might be getting when they get into like the partition and visualizing all that. Yeah, that's going to be real interesting, but I don't think those letters are going to be coming from my side of the community, so I'm good. But yeah, it's going to be nuts. So I'm interested to see what they do in these last things. On a whole other side of the fence,
other side, wholesome to not
wholesome teen stuff to the boys. So we're getting down to the end of the boys season. I'm not going to start because I have something stuck in my throat. I'm going to take a drink. Why don't one of you guys jump in and dare to go first on this? I was going to pick Janelle too.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, another episode has been released from the boys. This one feels like it has a little less crazy energy of violence and sexual content. It has a little bit more heart. I feel this episode has a little bit more heart. There's some emotional moments, and it's good to connect to some of these characters on a deeper level. This show in general is just insane, and I really thought that I would be burned out on the boys. That first episode was a little jarring for me of the season, but this one, this whole season actually has proven itself to be top tier for me. And this is one of my favorite shows that I'm watching right now. Yeah, it's just great. And I feel like we're actually getting to showcase way more characters. Like we're getting more information on these characters, which is nice.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
does the Florida cult not consider that deep scene to be a weird thing? Or are we just like,
You know, should we grow up around it? I'm just kidding. No, it is. You're right. That is. But it's, I guess just like Herogasm was just like the ultimate.
it's reset your levels?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know,
definitely
Janelle. You just
changed
came
my
back from Miami. If there's any stories you need to get off your chest now, if there's any Miami stories you need to get off your chest.
What happens in Miami stays in Miami.
What happens in the Miami Ocean stays in the Miami Ocean. All right.
Oh God, the seaweed was so bad. Anyways, what do you guys think?
What a place to leave it.
All right. I do agree with you all. I mean, I'm ragging on you, but like I do agree with you. This one had a lot more this was the plot development episode and a character development episode, and had a lot more heart to it in showing our kind of characters, both consequences of actions and setting the stage for, changing relationships and shifting alliances and stuff like that. So, yeah, this was a pretty good one. I was actually surprised by how engaged I was by this, because it was a big deal for me to stop that second Stranger Things episode and click over to this. Yeah, but and that's hard to say about The Boys, because usually I'm real good in jumping over into The Boys. But pause. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah,
so talking about jumping into The Boys, and
I'm just gonna move on. All right,
All right,
I will say that there was a couple scenes in here that were the aforementioned deep scene was a little much for it. I was like, oh, that's it. And then not in a whatever way, just in a creepy, like disturbing way. You know what I mean?
I think it was the awkwardness for me. I don't do well with awkwardness. Like
it was rough. But then someone mentioned in the comments, the cliffhanger, the ending to this episode was fantastic. It's a great way to queue up the big finale. And then I will say it's weird. So the Black Noir stuff, I loved the originality of like how they portrayed it. It kind of, all of those segments kind of took me out of the episode though. Because I was really into the Butcher stuff, like the Butcher, like exploring his past and just the pain and regret there and all that was just like hitting me, right? That was just like that was amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And then the Hughie stuff, right? And then Starlight, like her discovery stuff, and like you seeing how Butcher is different in how he reacts to her and that information, because he sees like he just wants to be there for Hughie. Like that change in their relationship is really interesting. So all that stuff I was in. Mother's Milk stuff was just like, oh my God, my heart just broke, when he punched him, because I was like, don't do it. I know you want to, don't do it. And then like, there's just so much going on in the episode. And then you would get a Black Noir scene again. And I'm like, oh my God, this is I understand I understand what we're doing. I just like, I don't maybe necessarily need it explained in this way for this long. I don't know. It just kept taking me out of it. And not to denigrate
I liked it only because
I
was sitting around going, like, Black Noir scares the crap out of me to begin with. He's just so creepy, like, throughout the series, about how he just murders people, and it just hangs around with the mask on. Like, the scene with him and the intern is still one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. Like, where he's just standing over the intern and or the worker, and they're trying to figure out what he wants, and he's just kind of doing there. So seeing him talk to these crazy things in his head while staring at an empty stage just made me be like, this dude is crazy as hell. So I mean, I like Noir as a character, but it also is kind of sad, like, the
for sure.
cartoons. But yeah, I liked it because he seems crazy. So I felt like,
it got that point across. Yeah. I was like, he's gone. He's lost it completely. So
I guess we get blown up enough times and heal enough times. Like,
geez,
I mean,
dude.
Wouldn't Wolverine be a little demented?
And the A-Train thing?
Oh, yeah, the A-Train thing. Like, that was some Twilight Zone Cronenberg stuff they threw in there. I did not see that coming.
Yeah,
that was good.
And it was such a small scene.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, I felt so much, oh my God, that, and he's like trying to process it in real time. It's just like, oh my God, that.
And shout out to Ashley, the actress who plays Ashley is one of the underrated MVPs of the show is Ashley. And the way, I mean, she's just such a good satirical takedown of just like public relations as a whole, like, and just the way they spin the way she's so perfect at like talking around all the A-Train stuff in such a way that is so like racist and terrible, but like never always sells. I always say it's always a good PR person or manager. Like, one of your key components is you got to be able to sell that bag of ish as like it's sugar. You can be able to sell ish like it's sugar is
Yeah, that movie or TV show she pitches him,
Yeah,
or whatever, and he's like,
yes,
"No, I don't want to do."
he's like,
Oh,
that
no,
doesn't
it's
sound
good.
like.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, he's like, great, boom. And she was great on Fear the Walking Dead too, as a villain, as a kind of Western style. I think her name was Sally.
I loved her on that.
Oh yeah, she was real good.
She was
so
great.
yeah, she's a great actress, and like she and I should know her name better, but she did a great job, and Ashley's just like the MVP. That scene with her and the intern earlier this season about punishment and like all that stuff, like they just keep giving her like great scenes. And,
Yeah, she's got great stuff.
Yeah, I mean this was a great thing, and Jensen Ackles is just doing a fantastic job. This episode was so like densely packed with the whole nun priest thing, almost like slipped my mind.
Oh my god, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
it's kind of a bummer too, because I kind of wanted more Hughie and Soldier Boy after just those several interactions.
They were so good. Yeah, they were good. Ackles and what's his name?
Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid are so good together. Huh? What'd you say?
What? He's like, dude, you need to lay off the.
Yeah. Oh man,
so
but Ackles is, I mean, such a great guest star this season. Just I thought Stormfront was good, but like Soldier Boy, he's just after playing Dean and like so likable he's just so good at playing like this smarmy douche who like knows that he's strong. I can't wait. I'm really excited to see like scenes with him and Anthony Starr. So that's gonna be kind of crazy.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about the Maeve stuff. Like, there's so much that went on in this episode that it's a lot to talk about. It honestly just take a whole podcast on its own to dissect half of the boys. But yeah, that was amazing. Cannot wait for the next one.
To answer the question from Facebook and Tammy Jackson, yes, I don't think I critique any movies I haven't seen. It's not really a thing, so it'd be kind of hard to do. So yes.
So wrestling.
Yes. Somebody said this episode was chonky, and yes, it was for the boys.
Chonky.
All right, moving on to wrestling. We got to bring in a ringer for the ring talk, and our ringer for the ring talk is, you guessed it, Connor Casey. He's back again.
Somebody said chonky, so I came around.
All right, Connor, Matt, take it away. Tell us what's going on in wrestling that has brought you back to us so soon. Not that we don't love you.
We will we'll start with the breaking news. This was given out yesterday, but news outlets are just now hopping on it as we speak. It's getting written up for the website. THQ Nordic has been confirmed as the publisher for AEW's first console game, Fight Forever. I wasn't expecting this given the relationship they have with Warner Brothers, and Warner has a game division with WB Games, but I guess we're going back with THQ Nordic. To not confuse people, this is not the same THQ that released all the WWE games throughout the 2000s. THQ, the name itself, was picked up by Nordic back in the mid-2010s. So this is technically their first wrestling title that they are publishing, but obviously we've known that Ukes has been the developer. Matt, how do you feel about this?
It makes total sense from the angle of like, they've not been shy about like, hey, those games are what we're going for, like those classic Nintendo 64 games. And while yes, it is a completely separate company from a like, you know what I mean, from like a first appearance standpoint, to have like that developer, to have that publisher, to have that logo and that's cool. I'm curious to see if there's actually any I don't know. It is interesting that they didn't go with the in-house one. I just wonder if it was just a matter of, financial stuff or time or what reason.
To any credit to them, WWE Games doesn't really do anything in the sports realm, if I'm not mistaken. So
it's true. They really don't.
Because I mean they're known for, the Arkham games and the Suicide Squad thing that's coming out. And they're known for that more in the Rocksteady realm than they are for anything about this. So so that just broke. On top of that, we've got Money in the Bank this weekend. Matt, I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like it is fitting that this show is taking place in Las Vegas because this show feels like a fold. It feels like you're playing Texas Hold'em. You got your first few cards, and you folded before even looking at what else was going to be flipped. Now, in poker, that is a rookie mistake because you at least want to see what you got in front of you. But in some ways, they feel justified. This show was originally advertised to be inside Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play, where SummerSlam was a year ago. And the local advertising had Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns front and center. They're not on the show. They didn't sell enough tickets to fill up more than half the stadium, so they bumped it down to the MGM Grand Garden Arena. The most intriguing singles matchup, Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley, is off the table. Rhea bonked herself with her own knee and is injured as a result. Yeah, the clip of that is funny but tragic.
It sucks, yeah.
And all of the advertising post the Roman removal was all about Cody Rhodes. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but half of his body looked like Grimace after Hell in a Cell. So he might be off the table. But I have an idea for you, Matt. I have an idea of how we are going to save this show. I went back and I watched the promo that Cody cut right after Hell in a Cell. It was about 9 minutes long between the time he got out to the ring and the time Seth beat him down with a sledgehammer. He spends the first 3 minutes talking about what just happened the night before, him basically fighting with one arm for 25 minutes and winning. But then he started talking about the Money in the Bank ladder match as if he was going to enter it. He was legitimately saying, this is the one thing I haven't done, and this is how I could become world champion. I mean, it sounds crazy, and it almost seemed like they brushed away the idea of having Seth attack him. But then Raw rolls around this week, and unannounced, without any sort of promotion ahead of time, there's Cody, filmed from what I presume was the Nightmare Factory, talking about the ladder match again. Not really even talking about Seth. And Matt, I don't know if you know this, but it only takes one good arm to pull a
climb a ladder.
Only takes one. I think that between all of that and the fact that the last entrant in the ladder match, as of right now, is still open, I think that's how we get Cody in this. I think he's going to pull a Brock Lesnar 2019, show up right at the end, knock Seth off the ladder, yank down the briefcase, and then he's your Money in the Bank winner. And here's where the twist comes in. He still has to go away and heal up, right? He they gave him a 9-month return timetable. We've seen 4 5-month returns. We've seen John Cena pull it off in just under 4, but I think it's been established he is a healing factor, so that doesn't count.
And Cody said that's not his timetable either.
Right.
He's already put the little seed of doubt in there. Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like pre-injury, this was their plan anyway, because you look at what they had mapped out for the next few months. It was supposed to be Orton at SummerSlam, Drew at Clash of the Castle, and then TBD for the rest of the year. Presumably he wrestles at Survivor Series, but that won't be for the title. And then all the while, you'd have Cody in the background.
Yeah.
Now you can still have that. And as the year goes on, every episode of television and every pay-per-view suddenly become infinitely more interesting, because it's not just, oh, when's Cody going to cash in? It's, well, when's he healthy?
Yep.
And when he's healthy, what do? How do you bring him back?
Well, and the threat keeps growing, right? As you get further and further along, because he could literally come in now. Like, it's not like his arm is dangling off. So.
And the next time you hear wrestling has more than one royal family, you're probably getting a new champion. So I think that is so much more interesting than Seth trying to rehash what he did in 2015, or Drew cashing in to make sure the match at Wales happens, as if that wasn't going to happen. The man is half the poster right now and would not stop talking about this show for the entirety of his WWE title run in 2020. That match is happening whether he has a briefcase that says so or not.
Right.
It feels unnecessary. You're probably not giving it to Sammy. You're not giving it to Sheamus. You're really not giving it to Omos. This is their best option. And this, much like Hell in a Cell, saves the show effectively. There's not much to talk about otherwise. But if Cody wins, everyone's talking about it and going, what a moment.
I think you sold me, man. I think that's if that happens, I can't argue with. Now, I'm not as down on this card as you are.
Okay.
Overall. But I will say that is easily the biggest moment. No one's not talking about that. And I would personally, like, I have Rollins penciled in, right? If we're not factoring in surprise returns, I have Rollins is the only person that I find interesting to aside from like Sami Zayn for entertainment value purposes, but not actually challenging title purposes. But like having Cody win it is infinitely more interesting. And that's no shade to Rollins. It's just from it spices up a story we haven't seen before, and it changes things up. I'm down for that.
And Seth is great. I'd argue he's the best thing on Raw right now. But it's kind of a damning indictment on your main event scene when the best thing you can hope for is a rerun of something that happened 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been pointed out to me elsewhere, WWE doesn't do a great job at repeating history. How many times did we see the Montreal Screwjob try to be reenacted?
Yeah.
Well, we all just have to roll our eyes at it.
Yeah, it's true.
And you bring the power of positivity to this show. What other matches are worth tuning in for?
Well, I mean, I'm excited for the women's ladder, like the ladder match, right? Because to me, there is actually some intrigue there as to who wins, because that's actually one of the ones that I can't necessarily like. If you would ask 10 people, you're probably going to get at least 7 to 6 different answers. Because a couple people, like, there's legit people in this match with like legit cred that they could give it to, right? Because I mean, it's Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Asuka's in this. To me, the two that make sense are Raquel and Shotzi because of how they've been built recently. And I say that only because Ronda needs opponents more than Belair needs opponents. Belair does not need you have people. Rhea will come back. Rhea will be in that ring when she gets her. And by the way, I hope for a quick recovery for her, because that sucked. Because a lot of people were looking forward to that match. Ronda needs opponents. So if you're talking about Ronda, you're dealing with a SmackDown heavy look. And so it kind of removes some of those people like Becky and Alexa out of the mix, because Ronda needs people.
My counter argument is I think you can get a lot of mileage out of a Ronda Shayna feud. And if you've been following them on Twitter, that's
but we've seen that before.
We have.
Like, no, not the thing. We've seen them tease it before and they do nothing with it. Now, they filmed this on their own, which is cool, but like WWE shared it and all that, right? We've seen them toy with this idea several times. They never follow through with it. Everyone wants to see that. So if that's the case, great. But like, I don't have the faith that they're actually going to do that. They've been toying with people's emotions.
My only counter is when you look at the match, the only actual story going into it is that Becky Lynch is freaking desperate. And what better way to keep playing up that story than to have her win and see that as the final opportunity for her to get the title back. But whether it be because of Asuka or a failed cash-in, she still manages to not get the title. I feel like there's a story you can immediately play off that, because you got to remember, WWE does not like letting this briefcase hang around for a while. With the exception of Carmella, everyone cashes in on that first day.
Right. So for me, the hope is that they don't do that again, because that is boring.
But you can also measure it with expectations.
I know. So I'm saying I don't want that to happen. So my pick for that is not going to be something that lends itself to that theory. It's going to be in the opposite way, because to me, that is repeating history for the 19th time, and rarely has it left any impression beyond that week. Like,
let me run this by you. It's down in the comments section right now. What if she cashes in on Bianca and then she turns around and loses in 26 seconds to make good on what happened at SummerSlam?
I would love that. But again, it's a momentary pop, and it doesn't do anything for the rest of the time. Like, the Money in the Bank briefcase is supposed it's supposed to be able to add another threat and build something for a while. Like, it should actually be used as hey, we also have this side plot going here, and you never know. And if it pops in the first day, yes, that moment's cool, but like, it doesn't feel satisfactory. Like, man, it's just
this ain't AEW. This show does not have long-term storytelling. But all right.
I mean, okay, you say that, but like Sasha Banks and Bayley was a long-term story. Like, there have been other stories in WWE that
you're citing a story from 2 years ago.
Did you say like this year? I'm citing a story. You said they don't do it. I'm telling you that they don't. I'm telling you they don't do it at the pace of AEW. Absolutely not. They do not do that. But then again, I don't love all of AEW's long-term storytelling. So let's not bring that debate into this.
All right, Kof, before I start going on a rant about the greatness of AEW, that is Money in the Bank. It's happening on Saturday, not its usual Sunday time. So stay tuned for all that good coverage. And also, read my shirt and watch this space. I'll just say that.
Look at you. Oh my god, he knows how to sign out, man. He knows how to sign out. That is it's a drop the mic moment, and it just bounced. Fantastic. Way to go, Connie.
Well, I'm excited to talk about comics because I missed it. I wasn't here last week. I didn't get to read my 3 usual comics. I thought it would be refreshing. I actually really missed it. So Matt, I'm excited.
Yeah, so it was one of those things too where I was like, oh no, there's 2 Batman books in this spot this week. But we're gonna start with Batman Catwoman number 12.
You picked a good one.
This is the closing chapter of the Batcat saga, Tom King's Batcat saga. I'm actually, for this one, we've been covering this now for, I'm pretty sure it's entirety of its run on the show.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna stop talking and I'm gonna go last. I'm gonna shake things up a little bit. I'm gonna what do you guys think? What did you guys think of this issue?
I can't wait to see this in a collected edition and do a remix where it's chronological, like just set out chronologically in front of me. Like from when it started in the past, all the past scenes, all the modern scenes, all the future scenes to the end. Because like I think it's just been a year. I don't remember all the intricacies. Like this thing got to an end, and I feel like it didn't even feel like an end for me. And the way this is telling a story, it doesn't really. I mean, the beginning, middle, end. This feels like Memento in a comic form. Like weirdly enough, like Chris Nolan stuff. But yeah, I get it. And the whole thing between Selina and her daughter, the Joker, Batman who's non-existent. And in a series called Batman Catwoman, Batman's like non-existent in this series as we know him. It's Helena, but like actual Bruce Wayne. I can't even remember. Was he ever in this series at all, except for like a few shots of him like getting sick?
Not really.
No, not really. No.
No. Joker was more in it.
Yeah, so it's been a weird series.
Should have been Catwoman, Joker.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some good takeaways from it. Like, there's. I think if I had followed the story or was able to kind of piece it together and remember a lot of the intricacies, the whole reveal at the end about the Thelma and Louise happy ending between Selina and Phantasm, Andrea. That whole thing, I guess, would have hit harder. The whole kind of emotional resolution between Helena and Selina about, legacy and Bruce's legacy and all that would have hit a little harder for me. I still think that single annual that we got, the Batman Catwoman annual, was a more powerful story than ultimately this comic series told. That whole thing about the end of Selina's life was excellent. So, I never hate on Tom King because I'm a Tom King fan, but I would have to reread this again. And I think I would have to see what it's like when I can actually read it in one kind of big collection and have the story be present the whole time. And like the only story that I'm reading and see all the kind of intricate details, because I'm sure when I go back and study it and see how it moves across, and now that I know everything, like it'll be much more rewarding. But yeah, the way this just came out, the kind of the weird stretch of time it took, like I don't think it was the most effective way of presenting this story.
Jenna, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, Kobe just said it, nailed it. I mean, I'm biased to this one book because there's like a wedding gown on the cover, which is very exciting because I'm planning my wedding. So I was very impressed with the artwork, as I always am throughout this entire series. I've felt that like these women in this book, I guess the men too, honestly, they're just masterfully drawn. Like they're gorgeous. They are every goal of mine ever. Like, it's just why I go to the gym from seeing that right there, that cat suit. But yeah, it was beautiful. I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. There were certain books in the series that were a little bit more exciting or had more payoff, but I think Kofi's completely correct, and it will probably lay out really, really well when you can read it all together. It's really hard to space them out as much as this one did.
Yeah, I pretty much echo all that. It was weird. I did not. I'm to the point now where I feel like yes, this truly won't be. You won't see how good or not good this is until it's all collected. That is the best way to to read this. And I also I did kind of leave going like, man, I wonder what that initial, like if King had not been, if he was able to do the original vision for that series, which was like to go more issues tying into the main series instead of having to change plans and have like a new person step in and then him do this kind of self-contained volume, but also linked to it. I don't know, all that change up. I would be kind of interested to see like what changed or if anything changed from his original plans to this. But I like parts of this. I just, man, I was a little let down, and it was just like I was hoping this would kind of bring it all together and the timelines and all that stuff would make sense. And it explains it like it kind of does, but the payoff to me it didn't really hit like I wanted it to hit. Though I still really enjoyed stuff in this, and like Janelle said, it's stunning. This issue is gorgeous. This whole series has been just stunning. But like the stuff with, you know, Catwoman and like Andrea there, and like, oh hey, she's like alive, and like that didn't quite hit either. Like I feel like it should have. I don't know. There was some other things. The Helena conversation didn't quite click for me. There was just things. I was a little underwhelmed, and I was bummed about that because I really wanted to just like soar after this.
I forgot my point, but I think one thing this series did is it did give me a version of Helena Wayne Batman that I would like to see in DC more often. Like, and if nothing else, it did come out of this. Like, I would like to see this kind of angry, jaded Helena who's kind of conflicted about her mother and her father. Like, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree. So I hope we will, when that collection comes out, I would actually be like, I would love for us to read that and go like, did it make it better? Did it not make it better? But let's move into Captain America: Symbol of Truth #2. I know we've talked about there's 2 Captain America ongoings now. And I know we actually really enjoyed the Steve Rogers one as well, but I think from what I remember, this one with Sam was the one we were kind of really digging more in that first initial issue. And a lot of that had to do with, you know, kind of just learning about like Sam's interaction with the community and just kind of being Sam. And this issue kind of takes a detour, and it's just like there's a lot of more, as we kind of talked about it earlier, more Marvel-y stuff in this one. It's like a big fight with Deadpool, and then Doom is involved later on. There's just the spectacle is higher, and it's fun, but I kind of came away not getting as much of what I liked about the first issue. I still enjoyed it, and because I enjoy Deadpool fights. Like, what can I say? I'm a sucker for Deadpool fights, but I don't know. I didn't like it as much, but I still enjoyed it. What you guys think?
I kind of hard disagreed. I liked the Sam kind of street level Sam stuff for the first issue, but I really enjoyed this. And you are underselling this. This was the creation of Marvel's Wilson and Wilson, an exclusive firm. No, seriously though, this was like Sam Wilson and Deadpool was a team up I never knew I needed until it actually happened. It was good, and you know, I liked seeing this Captain America in a Marvel kind of adventure, complete with a crossover and a team up, and I still like this book a lot. And it's just Sam's character is just so good, and like you can see shades of Anthony Mackie that have influenced this, because Falcon was rarely this dynamic before, but it works. And just seeing him, just like I love the fight dynamics of him, like getting shot and using the shield and his wings as like a double shield. Just small things are just so much fun with this version of Captain America that you don't get with Steve Rogers. Right. And just his kind of nonsense and, you know, lack of better term, but like his black guy way of reacting to things like Deadpool is hilarious. Like he just doesn't have it for like Deadpool's nonsense in quite the same way as like other characters. And it's hilarious to see them interact. So I actually enjoyed this. This was just a good fun read for the weekend. I was just,
Yeah, I agree with Kofi completely. So fun. Like, this was really fun. It put me in a great mood to read it. And I love their interaction together. Deadpool is so nice to see in a comic, because I think this is my first time seeing him in a comic. Yes. And I loved this. I loved seeing him interact in this way. And I just had a blast. So you guys pretty much summed it up, but it was great. I loved this. I had a blast.
Well, so let's move into some more Batman. Batman Beyond the White Knight, number 4.
I didn't read this one.
Yeah, this one's just me.
That's just Matt. This is Matt's agenda.
It's a quick mention. It's a quick mention because I freaking love this series. And again, this is another great. We get Ace, man, Ace the Bat-Hound, because it's introduced here. How you not love that stuff? But I actually just love the fact that like Bruce is like trying to deal with his panic attacks, and just to have Joker, who he slowly kind of, as we kind of saw with like the Cortana Master Chief relationship, right? Slowly kind of just, all right, like you are actually helpful. I kind of, they have a whole conversation here where he finally calls him Jack, and he's like, hey, you didn't call me Joker or whatever. He's like, well, I mean, I did have issues with you. We had some baggage. Like I had to work through there to see if I could trust and stuff like that. So they have real conversations, and like Jack is constantly like, I finally get to be in the Batcave. I thought this would be cooler. It's like everything's burnt, like everything's gone. So they start having all these conversations. And for Batman Beyond fans, this one, that's actually the one that you've been waiting for, because this gives the biggest, we really understand how this issue ends, is finally the thing we've been waiting for Terry, and kind of understanding what his role in all this is. And it also is one of those that makes you reframe what came before. So you're going to want to, after learning what happens here, you're going to want to go back and read stuff and see if that changes how you read it. So I love issues that are like that. So that's that. So if you're not reading that, you should go read it. Moving on to the poll winner. We're going to move to The Variants. And yes, Damon Streams wanted all 3 books in the poll to win. They were all good choices. The Variants one, I'm going to say I was excited for all 3 if they won, but The Variants, I was very excited for, 1, because it is a Jessica Jones book. I will always be up for Jessica Jones. 2, Gail Simone is writing it, and is one of my favorite writers. So I'm not gonna complain. This one is The Variants, and deals with, as its kind of name implies, it's multiple versions of Jessica from different universes that are going to kind of sort of interact. The way in which that happens is it's a very like Jessica Jones way that the story unfolds. And there's, as with most stuff here, like this is not a kind of, I will say, like Spider-Verse kind of have fun, like in the comics I'm talking about, not the movie. Like, hey, here's a bunch of characters interacting from different universes and stuff. Like this is very much still a Jessica Jones story, and then that is an aspect of it. And I really liked that. I liked the self-reflection. I liked the kind of digging into some of the Kilgrave stuff through a different point of view, through a different angle, the trauma, all that. Like that is really core stuff. And then you get the kind of last couple pages multiverse thing thrown in, and it's the way it's implemented. It just makes a really bad day worse. And like what? Like, so there's a lot of stuff. And we get Captain America, Jessica Jones. So who doesn't love that? Jessica Jones Cage, I should say. So I really enjoyed this. I was looking forward to this, but I didn't know really what to expect. I came away really happy. But what'd you guys think?
I thought it was good to kind of ground a Marvel. Marvel has just the fact that Marvel can launch a title named Variants shows you just what the MCU has done, right? Now that's like a popular pop culture term because of the MCU and all that. But I got to say that I was pleasantly surprised how well Gail Simone, who's also one of the top-notch Twitter snipers out there,
for sure,
is and how well she was able to marry like a classic kind of noir detective story with this idea of the multiverse and these variants and stuff like that. And it has all your things, the troubled detective, dealing with the trauma and all that. But also, I mean, there's just some great noir scenes. Like that coffee shop scene is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's classic hard-boiled, film noir detective stuff. And then to add a mystery that involves, the Marvel and the possible multiverse and all that fantastical stuff, it's a really good mix. And if there's anybody you want handling this kind of fantastical crap, it's the kind of cynical, kind of wisecracker like Jessica Jones who can keep it all grounded. So, yeah, I mean, I thought this was a good way to kind of explore Marvel multiverse stuff and a good way to kind of bring back Jessica Jones in the spotlight too.
Janelle, what do you think?
You both said it perfectly. I was pleasantly surprised with this one. I only know Jessica Jones from the Netflix series, and now Disney Plus now. But I'm really happy to see her in comic books. I was very excited about it, and I just loved the way they played it out. I loved her relationship with Luke in this, and I love Kilgrave because in the show, one of my favorite actors plays Kilgrave. So
For sure.
David Tennant from Doctor Who. So it was nice if you have watched the series, like this will be so easy for you to understand and follow if you're just picking up like this comic out of nowhere. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Also, Phil
I liked all the
Noto.
comics.
Phil Noto, excellent work in here. And yeah, the coffee scene is fantastic. There was so much to love about that. So this might be one, I don't know, we might stick with. This is a mini series, not an ongoing. So this might be a fun one to stick with, but we'll see. But that's comics.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of Comic Book Nation. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'm not going to push the show too hard. We got a great dedicated fan base. We love you guys for showing up every week. But if you're just jumping in, you can find us on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can find us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. And maybe one day we'll have our own YouTube channel, maybe in later seasons. We'll see. But quick mention, also, we stream on Paramount Plus. We are earlier in Sunday mornings. We're in the early slot. You can wake up with us and have your morning coffee on Sundays and watch us on Paramount Plus live on ETTV. And also on Paramount Plus that I have to check out that I'm really excited for and have heard excellent things about is Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. Beavis and Butthead are back. So I'm going to try to watch that this week so we can jump in and do like a little recent visit of that because I love those guys, man.
I'm trying so hard not to just like
do it. There it is. I was hoping someone would do it.
True hard. All right. So yeah, Beavis and Butthead, 90s kids. 90s kids unite. So we'll do a little watch of that too. Some Stranger Things for next week. And we'll finally be able to talk Thor and Love and Thunder because it'll be out. A lot of you guys will probably rush out and go see that. And yeah. Everybody get yourself emotionally ready for the Stranger Things thing. So hold tight and take care of each other. And we'll see you next week. This is Comic Book Nation. Peace.
Bye, guys.